When the stars align, who will have the best view of Saturn? We'll tell you this week on Motoring 2007.
TSN's Motoring 2007 is brought to you by Q from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. And Michelin, a better way forward.
It's hard to believe, but it was 17 years ago when General Motors introduced Saturn, not as another GM division, but as an independent company. And you know, Saturn quickly acquired an almost cult following. In fact, every year, Saturn owners would drive from all over North America to Saturn's home in Tennessee to celebrate this economy car. Why? Well, simply, a lot of people felt that Saturn succeeded because they had the best customer service in the industry. Well, later on, GM brought Saturn into the fold, and many were concerned that Saturn would lose its identity. It did have its problems in trying to build a better car, but today, without a doubt, Saturn could be the shining star in the GM family. In fact, we selected the Saturn Aura as our car of the year, and it was also selected as the overall North American car of the year. Well, this week we're going to check out the brand new Saturn Vue and also find out how this company, Saturn, has not only survived but thrived in the shadow of the world's largest automaker.
They're going to have one of the freshest, if not the freshest, complete lineup in the entire business. Saturn, who for 10 years had the stodgiest lineup in the entire business. It's a remarkable turnaround. Certainly the comeback story of 2007.
Originally, back in the 90s, Saturn was started to be the import fighter, if you will, and that's how we pitched it back then. And I think that real methodology or its passion hasn't really changed from that. We're really doing well at attracting customers that generally wouldn't look at a traditional General Motors vehicle, but Saturn has the cachet, Saturn has the quality that have attracted non-GM intenders to the brand.
I think that Saturn has been strong over time because we have never lost focus of who we are in the marketplace. We're a brand that has been always very focused on the customer, delivering a great retail experience and bringing very good products to the marketplace. And we work at that. There's an honesty by which this brand does business. This is a brand that is trusted by the consumers, and we absolutely are focused on great customer care. Yep.
The Aura, I would say, is my recommendation for the top family sedan in Canada right now, especially for the price. And the dealer service is absolutely wonderful. My next door neighbor just bought one. 2 days after he bought it, they reduced the lease rate, and his dealer phoned him up unprompted and said, we reduced our lease rate 2 days after you bought your car, but we're still going to honor the new lease rate with you.
Are General Motors dealers listening to this?
I don't know. I mean, you'd think they would. I can't believe that you can be a General Motors dealer and not have tried something radical to improve your business, because business has been so bad for so long for them. If they're not listening to that, then they're so stupid they should already be out of business, but that's another deal.
Saturn number one!
When you look at what is happening at Saturn, what we've learned from Saturn, some Saturn dealers are also General Motors dealers, and the really good ones know how to treat customers, and they know how the customer wants to be treated, and they work hard to do that. So there's lots of things that we can still learn from Saturn and spread throughout the whole General Motors chain. We try to do that. You're changing some old habits sometimes, but you just got to keep pounding away on those kinds of things and make all dealers and retailers better at what they do.
Well, when we originally launched the Vue, it had polymer panels, and we launched it for people who wanted to carry 5 passengers and also carry their stuff. So there was a lot of utility, built into the Vue. The 2008 Vue, the only thing that's the same is the wheelbase, 106.6 inches, and the name. Everything else from the ground up is new. The exterior styling, the interior, the refinement of the vehicle, all the powertrains, everything is new. The Vue, year over year, has been increasing in sales since we've launched it. And that's kind of ironic because normally you have the first couple great years and then it goes down, but year over year we've had retail sales increase with this particular product. We have a lot of different new technologies built into this vehicle that you wouldn't maybe normally see in a small compact crossover, like rain sense wipers, remote start. We have DVD navigation with voice activation, things of those natures that you just might not see in this level of vehicle. There's a lot of different features on this vehicle that just makes it a real exciting vehicle to have and to be proud to be an owner of. And so it's a great time to be at Saturn.
We're going to win just like we started this brand in 1990. We're going to win by winning each customer over one at a time. And you do that when you treat people with respect and integrity and the honesty by which your brand does business, and marry it up with this unbelievable product portfolio, and we ultimately think that's how you win in the marketplace.
You talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? More later on Kenzie's Corner.
Oh. Daylight come and he won't go home. Heidi deadly, black tarantula. Daylight come and he won't go home. If you're down on your luck in this business, there's only one way up. Product, product, product. This week on Test Drive, we take a look at Mitsubishi's latest Lancer. The combination of a stiff chassis and well-calibrated suspension gives the Lancer better than expected handling. This is particularly true of the GTS Tester. It comes with larger anti-roll bars back and front, which dials out the small amount of body roll encountered on the lesser versions. The steering also brings a good on-center feel and plenty of feedback, which keeps the driver in touch with the road. Likewise, the GTS benefits greatly from its larger wheels and tyres. Where the DE and ES models make do with 205 60R16s, the GTS earns 215 45 R18s. The wider tread and lower profile bring much better directional stability and lateral grip. The back half of this Lancer has been reasonably well thought through. To begin with, the back seat will accommodate two adults relatively comfortably, and when you open the trunk, 70-30 split folding rear seats, generous trunk size, and cantilever hinges. That means when you close the deck lid, they don't eat into the usable space. On the downside, well, the seats don't fold flat with the floor, and this opening right here is kind of narrow. But those two things pale in comparison to the problems this causes. It will take a chunk out of your head if you're not careful. In fact, if this were my car, this thing would be painted fluorescent orange. Ironically, the answer is so simple. All you got to do, allow the deck lid to go back another couple of inches, which there is plenty of room to do, and you take this dangerous item right out of head bashing way. Power comes from Mitsubishi's 2-litre inline MICAH 4 that uses variable valve timing. It churns out 152 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque at 4,500 RPM, which is enough to motivate the Lancer with enthusiasm. It's also smooth from idle to around 5,000 RPM. Beyond that point, its personality begins to change, and it boils down to the box that relays the power. When it comes to the Lancer's CVT, well, you've got two very different personalities. The first one is when you leave it in drive and nail the gas pedal. Pretty much all you get, good acceleration, but noise, noise, noise. The second mode, well, it works really well. You select manual transmission, you step on the gas. Yes, you get a little upfront noise, but once you start shifting gears, you kill most of the noise without killing performance. The bottom line, if the CVT doesn't have a manual mode, don't buy it. When in the manual mode, the 6 predetermined ratios do a good job of keeping the engine in its sweet spot without killing fuel economy. The test produced a very good average of 9.8 litres per 100 kilometres. The anti-lock brakes follow this lead. The brake pedal is easily modulated and the stops, which measure 39.8 metres from 100k, come without premature anti-lock intervention. The inside of this Lancer has been done quite well for the most part. Some of the plastics are a little cheesy. On the other hand, I love the seats. They're of the deep dish variety, which means there's plenty of base and backrest bolstering. The other thing on this test car, 2 neat options. The first one, this intelligent key. As long as you've got the fob in your pocket, you can lock and unlock the car and start it. The other thing you've got to invest your money in, the Rockford Fosgate audio system. Now, it's not only loud and proud, it's got one serious subwoofer in the trunk. When it comes to safety, the Lancer fares very well. Along with dual front airbags with passenger position sensors, come side seat-mounted airbags, drop-down side curtains, and a protective knee bolster for the driver. Now, the latter prevents the driver from kneecapping himself when the worst happens. Tyre pressure monitoring is also standard. If there is a wish, well, it would be for electronic stability control. Most of the hardware is in place, and so it just needs the operating logic. When you compare the latest Lancer to the previous car, well, there's a quantum leap forward. It handles exceptionally well, it's got decent power, and I could actually live with that CVT because of its manual mode. The bottom line, in the past there were very few compelling reasons to buy the Lancer. There are now a lot of compelling reasons.
Time to update our 2007 long-term Hyundai Santa Fe, and I'm doing it from the back seat, way in the back seat, as you can see. This vehicle comes with the optional 3rd row, and if I look uncomfortable, I'm not a very big guy, you are right. But you know, practically every vehicle like this with a 3rd row is unpleasant to sit in. And of course, you have absolutely no room for luggage. But if you're in those kind of situations where you've got 6 kids or 6 average-sized adults, it works as long as they don't have any luggage. And when you're not using it, it folds easily into the back. The 3.3 5-speed automatic is as smooth as it gets and the ride is solid. But inside, the attention to detail is impressive. All the controls are easy to access, and you even have mood lights in the cup holders. All 3 rows have their own vents and fan control. And you know the Japanese got their reputation by building quality and spending time on the details. Well, obviously Hyundai was paying attention. We'll wrap things up on our next update.
One of the very few things that are actually better than a Camaro coupe is a Camaro convertible, and what better car to work on. I mean, we really built on the strengths of the Camaro coupe, and just wanted to keep the momentum going with a really hot convertible concept.
The first impression is, wow, this whole statement is very clean and it's very bold. And I always love sketches that have like a full range from black to white. You have nice contrast in them. When you open up the door, you've got this black and white composition framed by lava orange. So there's just this color scheme that just is so bold. It's so awesome.
Muscle cars in general are just purely American statements. I mean, they originated in America. They've always been American icons. Camaro in particular is one of those that resonates with a lot of American car enthusiasts, and as well enthusiasts overseas that can't get that type of car in Sweden or Germany. And really, it's something to celebrate. It's something that other car companies can't do. They don't have that heritage to build upon. This is a car particularly we want Camaro enthusiasts to embrace, but also capture the imagination of today's youth. Not just focus on the people that remember these Camaros, but focus on people that were born after that whole thing.
As I mentioned earlier, even when Saturn was making bad cars, they succeeded because they had outstanding customer service. It was even part of their marketing plan. But I can't tell you how often we get complaints from non-Saturn owners about poor customer service. So you got to ask yourself, why don't other manufacturers take a page from the Saturn book, and why is it so difficult to offer consistent, good customer service? Well, let's put that question to our man in the Quaker State garage, Bill Gardner.
Brad, I think it's because they're trailing the pack in sales, and when you're trying to catch up to the front runners, you go that extra mile. It works in just about every business, and I don't think there's anything exclusive about the car business. I'll tell you, I remember my dad telling me when I first started my own business, I thought, you know, this is great. I'm self-employed, working for myself. I don't have a boss. And he sort of woed me down and straightened me out and said, hold on a second. How many customers you got? Oh, about 200, 250. Well, you got 250 bosses. You keep them all happy, they'll continue to bring their cars in to get fixed, and your business will flourish. And it's a simple philosophy that works. Customer service is number one. I'll tell you, if you're getting taken care of, you go back there. And lots of people go back there to buy cars that aren't even the greatest car if they get taken care of. Now, when we talk about keeping the price down on repairing your car, I want to give you an example of a couple of things. One of my neighbors has got an E-Class Mercedes 4MATIC. That's an all-wheel drive sedan that Mercedes makes, pretty expensive car, and a BMW X5 and some pretty expensive hardware other than that sitting in his driveway, an Odyssey touring van and all kinds of vehicles. But you know what? He does not like to get taken to the cleaners to get his car fixed, and he's always telling me how much Mercedes or BMW or whoever quoted him to do a certain job. When I check it out, we usually find that we can do the job for considerably less. You walk into those big grandiose dealerships and you see all that overhead, you know that you're paying for it when you take your car in there to get serviced. If you're okay with that, fine. If you want to save a buck, you shop around. I want to give you an example of shopping around. Now on this tire, we're going to go with a brand new tire, but supposing the curb damage that blew the sidewall out of this tire, that's what happened, he impacted the curb. If it had ruined this rim, I would have gone on the internet and gone to carpart.com and found a used rim for that X5 for probably a fraction of the price of a brand new one. It's all blemished and marked up anyways. Obviously, cosmetics don't matter. If it was a good, straight, sound rim, we'd put a tire on it and we'd be back in business. Here's a couple of other parts. I'll give you an example too where there's been some big changes. This is a rear wheel bearing from a 2002 Accord. Now, I phoned the aftermarket the other day, and a first-line aftermarket rear wheel bearing for this Accord was $247 and change. I was just about to give the guy the green light to send it over, but I always cross-check everything. I phoned the Honda dealership, this same bearing from the Honda dealership, $138. Now, the aftermarket guy, the reason they were $247, I'll bet you $1, is because OE, in other words, a genuine Honda one, was probably that price not long ago. All of a sudden, they've dropped the price. I asked the guy at the parts department, he said there'd been a big decrease in a lot of their major parts. This was one of them, down to 138 bucks. So you know where I got this, right from the Honda dealer, saved the customer a lot of money, but it isn't always that way. There's another part, that's a harmonic balancer from a GM 3800 V6. Not supposed to make that racket. That's why it got replaced. It sounded like a thrashing machine. But this part from the GM dealer was $400, from the aftermarket $240. So you always make at least 2 phone calls to cross-check all these parts, because you can see in many examples you can save some significant bucks. Or in the example of the wheel, if I needed one for the BMW, even buying a used part for certain applications, you can save a lot of money if you shop around and use your head, and you don't always pick the first one or the first guy that gives you the price. Check 2 or 3. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2007.
friend of mine used to race an old Fiat. The car wasn't very fast, but Victor got the absolute most out of it that it was possible to get. Now, one day a young kid showed up in a slammed Civic with those fart can mufflers on it, and he started laughing at Victor's Fiat. He says, "Oh, my Civic's way faster than that." And Victor said, "Well, you know, why don't you bring your car out to the racetrack next week and prove it? Don't just talk about it. Come on out and see if you can actually do it." Well, of course, the kid never showed up. But this occurred to me during all this current furor about street racing, that maybe we should sentence convicted street racers to bring their cars out to a sanctioned motorsport event. Now, maybe when these 19-year-old kids with their hot-shot slammed Fast and Furious cars get their doors blown off by a 55-year-old woman in a 12-year-old Mitsubishi, well, maybe it's like beating a mule over the head with a 2x4. You're not trying to hurt them, you're just trying to get their attention. And maybe when these guys realize that you can't really drive fast on the street, maybe they'll understand that to really get some jollies, you got to bring your car out to a sanctioned event. Don't risk other people's lives. Don't risk your own life or your car. Come out and do it safely. And oh, by the way, folks, that's not street racing, what these punks are doing. The street racers, the real ones, do it in secret. I'm not condoning it. They shouldn't do it. They should also bring the cars out to the track and really do it right. I'm just asking all of you, do you have the guts? I'm Jim Kenzie.
I did not get a lot of seat time in the new Vue, but I can tell you they have taken a good vehicle and made it better, and Graeme will have a closer look on a future test drive. But here is something interesting. In the original Vue, they did not include any of those overhead grip handles. Customers complained. Well, the new Vue has 4 grip handles. And maybe therein lies the secret to Saturn's success. They listen to you, the customer. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
They have a thing about catching up to the Japanese. Everybody knows that. By their own admission, they would love to be where Toyota and Honda and Nissan are. They do things in a hurry. When they do model changes or design changes, they do it right now. And they're very quick, very ambitious, and they definitely want to rise to the top. So yeah, they're a company on the move. I would say that, yeah.
TSN's Motoring 2007 has been brought to you by Q from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. And Michelin, a better way forward.